Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1.
Vinyl Tap.
I'm Habibi.
I'm Tim. God damn it.
And we just listened to 4 very fun albums. Oh, God.
Welcome back to
month.
lockdown, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Teething Issues. That's the new name of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
What an interesting month it has been.
The theme was 1974, by the way. Feel like we should...
We should probably
Mention
clarify
that.
that.
No.
We should also address the
Out of the
other
gate.
main thing about this season. The lack of our guest for the final episode.
The elephant not in the room.
Yeah. Thanks, Lockdown.
Thank you, Lockdown. Thank you very
Sam
much,
couldn't
Sam.
be with us today. Yes, great throughout the month. We couldn't finish with him today, though. So we'll just...
Make it up
We'll
as we
pretend
go
we
along.
know what he thinks.
Yeah, totally. What did you think of 1974? Did you love it?
Well, I was alive in 1974, and it was a really, really great time. My recollection tells me. The music was hit or miss, to be honest. No, actually, I really enjoyed most of the albums we listened to. Keyword most.
You're welcome.
Key album, The Eagles on the Border. Ooh boy, that was fun.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that, Jason. We can always count on you to bring something that we can talk about.
Pretty much. No point just putting
Even though it
praise
was
onto...
our shortest episode.
It's because there was not a lot to say.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you know,
God.
it's some people love them, you know, and I think there's something to be said about having terrible music that some people like, you know.
I mean, not all of their songs are terrible, just
Most
the
of them.
majority of them.
They're not actively
it's not
terrible
good.
though, right? Like it's just
No.
that they're kind of really fucking boring.
Yeah.
Or they fit that very, like, late 60s bloated song style where it's, like, just so many choruses, so many verses. You know, nothing...
Interesting?
Nothing interesting.
Well, not after you've heard it, like, once or twice. By the time you get to, like, the 4th verse or the 3rd or 4th chorus,
You're fucking
like,
over it.
Okay.
You already know that James Dean is dead. He's been dead a very long time. We don't need to hear about it again.
I don't know. Would you say that they're
But we-
good? Like, do they fit elevator music? You know, it's safe and unoffensive, or like lounge music, not elevator music.
Not quite, because I feel like there's just a little bit too much going on. It's not quite just to sit in the background.
Yeah, the tone isn't quite as subdued as you'd like from lounge music. You want something that's just going to wash over you, but, you know, it's still rock. It's
Yeah.
still, you know, an aggressive guitar. So I don't think it's suited for that. I don't think it's really suited for anything except, like, a road trip that you want to be boring. You're driving through Nebraska, there's corn either side of you, and for the next 40 minutes, you just don't want to feel anything. Put on the Eagles on the Border.
Personally, I think it was in their part of their career where they're a little lost. Like, they started super country early on and then tried to push more into rock, but they didn't really hit their stride with that until Joe Walsh came on board.
Right.
Which is, you know, I'm pretty sure his first album was the Hotel California album.
So
Right.
that would have been when they're brimming with new ideas in this,
bit of a
rock
different
genre.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a new mind on board. So that'd be why it's probably their most celebrated album. That's
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
So the album itself was really bad, but we got some good insight out of it.
I think you make a good point though that like it's too interesting to be lounge music, because that's almost like a hallmark of like 70s rock, is that like there's a lot going on across like all of the albums that we've listened to, right?
Yeah, true.
Like
True, there's a
the
lot in all of
70s
these.
isn't really a time where you can pick an album where it's nice, gentle, and you can just relax to. It's always like experimenting or pushing the boundaries, or just there's a fucking lot of shit going on. Even if you are as kind of boring as the Eagles, you're like really active instrumentally, and there's a lot of vocal stuff, like but I think for me, the one who sort of takes the cake for that is like David Bowie, Diamond Dogs. That's like, oh, like ultimate experimentation, ultimate like weirdness.
Had you heard that album before, Beebs?
I
Before
actually
we listened to
hadn't.
it?
No. I'd heard, I think, a couple songs
I'd
from
heard
it.
most of the album,
Okay.
but I don't think I'd heard all of it.
Right. I listened to it the night before I brought it to the podcast,
Right.
just to make sure it was what I wanted. Aside from that, I'd heard, the big ones from it, but
Yep.
not the whole thing. Yeah.
I can't say I've listened to a lot of David Bowie in terms of albums. Like, I've heard most of his hits and am very aware of his, movies and fashion and like just his influence on pop culture. So I don't have a lot of reference here, and this is going back a while since we actually listened to it as well, but I feel like it was pretty strong across the board from memory, wasn't it? Like, there wasn't really a huge amount of shifting that needed to be done as an album. What was the last song?
Well, no, isn't it the dance of the spooky?
Yeah,
skeletal
chant of the
family?
ever-circling
That's the one I'm
skeletal
thinking.
family.
That's the one,
Family.
the spooky boy
Yeah,
dance.
that's the one that like really like still is sticking with me.
Yeah, it's
after
awesome.
How long it's been. That
And then there's We Are the Dead, and this album has Rebel Rebel on it. Fuck me.
Yeah. Although, I feel like Rebel Rebel for me, I don't know, it was sort of one of the more boring songs on the album. Well, not boring, but like it didn't stand out for me as much on
It's
this
pretty
album.
straightforward, isn't it?
I mean, you have also heard it a hell of a lot more than anything else, right? Like, it's something
yeah.
you're familiar with,
Yeah.
but also as well, it is a very catchy song.
It is, yeah. Bowie albums are weird, to be honest. They're always extremely eclectic and not really what you'd think. I don't know, like, there's like the pop hits that everyone has heard, and so, like, my experience is I have a sense of what Bowie is going to sound like because I've heard all of the big hits or whatever. I've
And
heard
you
Rebel Rebel
absolutely
a
don't.
million times, and then I go to the album and I experience Chant of the Spooky Boys, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? And it's sort of, yeah, all of his albums are like that. I think Diamond Dogs was that experience.
And again, just like the Eagles, this was a moment of change for Bowie.
Yeah?
Right, this is a big swing in his career. I think he's he just coming out of Berlin now, or is he? Yeah, I think he's just coming out of Berlin.
Right.
Or maybe he's leaving. Fuck. No, wait, coming into like leaving LA. I can't remember. Whatever it was, it's a big moment for him.
So Berlin is his like Iggy Pop days, right? He's working with Iggy,
Yeah.
and he makes what's the first thing that he makes
Like
with
Thin-
Iggy? Is it Ziggy's? No,
No, that was before then. I think the first thing they made together was an Iggy album, which I can't remember the name of.
yeah.
And then like some Thin White Duke stuff, maybe. Oh man, I need to brush up on my Bowie.
You gotta watch your
history.
Bowie documentaries.
It's been too long. Yeah, need to scrub up on the David Bowie Wikipedia page.
I think you hit the hammer on the head in saying it's eclectic.
Oh,
It's-
totally.
And there's not a lot of artists that you can really genuinely use that word with and say it's eclectic and not mean that they're scattered and all over the place, because that's not what comes across. It very much is just a collection of different sounds and influences that are very Bowie. Most bands have like a sound or their sound that is identified with them, and you can't really pin something specific with Bowie, right? Because it's very different depending on which like era and genre of Bowie you're talking about.
He established very early on that he was never going to be the same. He was never going to give you the same thing twice.
Super cool.
What a legend.
He established a lot of genres as well. Actually, I don't know if he established genres, but he established kind of...
he dipped his toes all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, he was in dance, he was in disco, he was in early rock, psych rock, he was
Very
in this
glam. He
weird
was
70s movement.
Super influential in glam.
Huge in pop. He's been everywhere. He was king.
There's a fun YouTube clip where he talks about the internet
Meme
or
school.
art. Yeah. And he basically predicts memes. It's amazing.
Chick Corea?
We talked about Chick Corea.
We did talk about Chick Corea. I
Return to
couldn't.
Forever,
I couldn't tell you if this is an influential Chick Corea moment.
Well, this is really early jazz fusion, isn't it? 1974.
It's pretty early. I don't know if it's the... according to the discography, it's the first Return to Forever release.
There you
So
go.
it's the... maybe it is, like the beginning of jazz fusion.
It's like the seminal work.
The seminal work.
The linchpin. This is the dark side of the... That's not a good comparison. That was only a year before this, wasn't it? 73. Very interesting time, early 70s.
The 70s has got a lot going on. There's like every genre is really just fucking going for it.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's crazy to me that labels are giving all of this weird shit a chance.
Right.
Because it's sort of, I get the sense that, like, the 60s was a little bit more of a conservative time for music, where it's sort of, you had to have, like, the right sound and the right kind of vibe.
Well, to secure funding, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then there's... Oh, sorry, go on, Jason.
I was going to say, I think a lot of that has to do with, initially you had, like in the 50s, things like Elvis, which was very controlled, presented image.
Extremely commercial.
Extremely commercial, and it was being, pushing boundaries in certain ways. And then you have things in the 60s like the Beatles and the Stones, right?
Beach Boys.
And they're Beach Boys, and they're, again, still fairly controlled, but especially you look at the way the Beatles started to push those boundaries further and further and experiment more, and then you start getting people like, I think Frank Zappa starts coming in late 60s, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And doing
really
just insane out there. I'm pretty sure that's when
okay
he starts.
And then by 74, you get someone like Gene Clark, who's come out of the Byrds, and as Sam told us, no other is like, it has an extremely ridiculous budget. And he's doing all these crazy things.
yeah
So yeah, it is really interesting to see how adventurous labels were willing to go with assigning huge amounts of money to crazy people.
I think it was very much a matter of, as things were being pushed musically and people were getting weirder, it was like, cool, this weirdness is working. Let's just like
let's
get
roll
it
with
out
it.
there. Like let's roll with it. And you do get some really interesting things, but it's also why you end up with things like Captain Beefheart.
Who?
Okay, that's a point. Gene Clark, no other,
like with everything.
no other, I think is like a really good, like, for me it's like it's super experimental, I guess, for the time. Well, experimental. I don't know. It's very different, but it's got a really, really cool, like, how do I put it? The production of it is kind of out there and a little bit wacky, and the songs are like, they've got that cool, I don't know, like catchy. They don't sound out of place. They don't sound like they're a Captain Beefheart of the world, or they don't sound like, the real, like,
You're talking about Gene
Frank
Clark.
Zappa kind of weird shit. But it does have that really cool, like, wacky production stuff that a lot of 70s music has.
You're talking about Gene Clark.
Yeah,
aren't
Gene
you?
Clark. Yeah, no other. Yeah.
I really wish that Sam was here because I know that he has so much background information and knowledge to share on it, and I know he absolutely loves it as well, and really loves like 1974, which is why it is the theme for
Oh
this
yeah,
month.
guests choose the theme when there's a guest. So like, that's funny that they're summing this up without him.
Yeah. So we're trying to find an explanation as to why he chose it without having
Without-
his words to explain why.
Well, we
I'm
can
pretty
just
sure he wanted to bring that album, and then he found a theme that fit the album he wanted to bring, right?
Yeah, but I think he also really does just like 1974
Yeah.
in terms of...
Well, it's super fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And I'd be really interested to hear his thoughts on the albums we brought. Like, was he expecting to see the Eagles and Chick Corea? Like, David Bowie, I think that's pretty run-of-the-mill for, like, an early 70s go of things, right?
Yeah.
were you expecting to see the Eagles in 1974? I mean, like, maybe they still kind of linger on today, right? Like the Eagles have a hardcore verdant fan base who will die for them, or not. I actually don't know. I don't know. My impression of Eagle fans is that, like, if you like them, you really like them, even if you don't.
Really? Why?
Like Star
gives
Wars
you
fans.
that? What gives you that indication? Implication.
Oh, I don't know. Just that I just made it up, and I assume that I'm right.
Well, props to you. You got to have confidence in your opinions. Well, you don't, do you? But you can.
You can, and I choose to. So,
So it's a super interesting era of music, the early 70s. All kinds of crazy things happening and money being flung around, and I feel like people didn't really know where things were going.
No.
Because by the late 70s and the early 80s, you have these, again, we're back to that super commercialized.
Controlled image.
Yeah. So that's really interesting that you saw this swing into the Wild West and then a return back to the like Madonna.
Very like glam metal, which is a very controlled image as much
Which
as it
arose from
presented.
Van
it wasn't.
Halen coming from the Wild West, right? It was an out there genre that emerged from all these things coming together and then was controlled by labels. And that's how we ended up with Bon Jovi and Motley Crue.
But that's, if you broaden and look at a bigger scope, that's generally how trends tend to go, where you're swinging back and forth on a pendulum.
The pop of the 80s comes from the Beach Boys, like, being honed in, like, that style being controlled by labels.
we haven't really had
some fusion from other...
we haven't really had a Wild West in labels since, though, or really before this time.
Well, the era we're living in now
is a bit of a Wild West.
Is pretty nuts.
And pushing towards it more and more.
Is it, though?
Anyone can make music, anyone can release it, and labels are kind of beginning to accept that.
I mean, they don't have a choice. They don't have as much influence as what they used to. They used to be able to pick who they wanted to push, and they could sign whoever knowing that at least one of them was going to make them money, and they'd make their money back.
But now Spotify chooses.
Whereas now Spotify's the big dog in town.
YouTube chooses. The power is back in the people's hand, filtered through the disgusting middleman of Spotify and YouTube.
But yeah, like someone who, even 10 years ago couldn't afford to go and spend time in a studio. You know how much that it costs, having
Yeah.
just done it.
Yeah.
You can buy like an audio interface for a couple of $100 and plug a microphone in, and you can get, some digital, like some VSTs, like virtual instruments that are like really good samples of pianos in Abbey Road Studio or the London Philharmonic. You can make music at home in your bedroom to a professional level, which is both incredible and terrifying.
Yeah, but I like, how many examples in like popular music can you name where they've started off like that, where they've done that? Because like,
Doja Cat.
in the 70s, like there were people, you could get together in your garage and record a few demos and get someone to record you.
Rush
Like
did, like a bunch of
heaps
bands
and
did.
heaps of people were doing that.
But
Like the big
to
successes
go
are still
big,
controlled.
you needed the support of the labels.
That requires you to be discovered.
Yeah, and you need support of the label and the industry to push you into the right places. Whereas now, being in digital spaces, you can do all that from your own home. You can use things like Reddit and, online stuff that you can do yourself. And sure, the more money you throw at it, the more likely it is to be successful. And basically that's how labels have still kind of,
So an example of
controlled
this
the
might
game
be
to
like
the
Jacob
extent that they
Collier,
have.
for example.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I'm pretty sure, didn't he have connections earlier on? So
But
maybe not the best example. I was thinking something as far back as Justin Bieber. Like 2008, 2009, kid uploads music to YouTube, gets discovered by Usher, of all people. Was it
But
Usher? I think
to,
it was.
to me,
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
still like similar to the 70s, like, or 80s, 90s. Record something and send it to
I
a
guess
label
it
and
is.
hope that you get picked. It's just that
But
we
the
have a
medium
slightly
has
different way
changed.
of, mailing it to the producers, or labels, mailing box.
Sure. So, I mean, you're not going to find an example, at least I could be wrong, but I would say you're probably not going to find an example of someone who is mainstream pop, because that little sector is still fairly controlled by, the big record labels, because it's the last little thing that they've got left is like pop music, commercial radio, play. They're the ones with all the contacts in radio generally that control what's going on there. But in terms of bands being successful and creating, not bands, just artists in general, creating followings for themselves that are sustainable and can support themselves and travel worldwide, you don't need a record label to do that. And
Right.
you may need to like sell yourself down the river a little bit if you really want that commercial success. But
You could look
that
at
in itself will change and dwindle and shift as well over time.
And
Like
wasn't there this whole movement of rappers coming, like, going huge in the mainstream from online spaces, SoundCloud and YouTube?
mumble rappers?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Actual rappers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like it's more just about being able to use the internet and its different resources as tools to market yourself.
Yeah.
And not try and rely on traditional mediums that involve capital. And they're still useful and can still be used, but there's ways around it now, and that in itself takes away a lot of the power and influence that like the record labels have, but at the same time transfers a lot of that to companies like YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music, and those who are actually the aggregators and who are providing the music service for people to listen to music on.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, in 3 years' time, we can expect a band just like the Eagles to
That's right.
resurrect and become famous despite being really generic and boring.
And by golly, it's going to be us, damn it.
I hope not.
Moving off this never-ending in-depth topic,
Yeah.
why did we pick the albums we picked? Beebs, why did you bring
That's a
Return to Forever?
damn good question. It's because Return to Forever is fucking amazing.
It's fucking amazing.
I love it. And it's like, if someone thinks that jazz fusion isn't cool, you should just show them like Return to Forever, Where Have I Known You Before.
This album specifically. Oh my god.
It's a banger. It's just
so cool.
Yeah. And it's 1974, so yep. That's it really.
So it was a good excuse to bring some great fusion.
Basically, yeah. And I'm always
know?
looking for an excuse for great fusion.
Well, I'm always talking about David Bowie, but he'd never come up on the show before, so, fuck it. There you go. I remember going through a bunch of the albums released in this year, and there were a lot of really interesting ones I could have brought in. And I was weighing up, it was so long ago now, I can't remember. I was weighing up between this one and something else. Was it something Australian? I can't remember. And I chose this one because it was good. I thought that it would be interesting talking about an album that has such a commercial success that lives on to this day in Rebel Rebel, and also a bunch of weird Bowie shit.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you? Why the hell did you bring the Eagles on
Of
the
all
board?
of the fascinating, interesting music that you could have picked.
Destiny albums. I was in a similar position where I was weighing up a bunch of different albums. There are so many to choose from. And nothing really was like, yes, this is definitely the one. And just making assumptions that other people were going to try and bring really good albums. I thought it'd be interesting to bring something that I know as an album I dislike, and that even the singles from the album I dislike. Because generally I like the Eagles hits. Most of their other hit songs I actually enjoy, but I know and knew that I was not going to enjoy On the Border. Like I just like I think I said it in the episode, it is, in my opinion, their weakest album because the hits on that album are the weakest hits they've got on their greatest hits CD. So, and like I said, it's in that point in their career where they had kind of played out what made them successful in the first place and were looking for something new.
Look, you've got to set the low
I
bar
also think it's when
so
there
that
was like the
people can
most point of
tell where the high is, you know?
He was looking forward to the end of the year and thought, you know what, maybe let's give Captain Beefheart a run for his money, give him some competition for worst album of the year.
Yeah, like let's make it interesting, right? It's not definitively going to be Captain Beefheart. I know I'm not voting for that. I don't know. It's just interesting to talk about, especially because it's 1974 and it's a year, just to have that variance of was also going on at the same point in time, and discuss that, hey, it wasn't just all really good music across that year. There was some other not so great stuff going on.
Yeah. We need to remember that a lot of people have this idea that, all this great music was released in the past and now there's only crap coming out. No, there was so much crap coming out all through history.
It just doesn't stand the test of time.
Yeah.
The other thing that really cemented me picking the Eagles, because I was still on the fence even on the day.
On the border, maybe?
Yeah, I was on the border even on the fucking day, was when we listened to Gene Clark's Like No Other. I was like, there's elements in here that just remind me of the Eagles, but they're done so much better. And I just wanted to have like an apples to apples comparison.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some rotten apples. So, Sam, why did you bring No Other? Shall we vote? Shall we vote on who wins?
We shall, but potentially this could be a null and void month, depending on
Fair
how
enough.
this voting goes.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to the end of the year.
I personally think No Other was the strongest, with a strong shout out to both of your choices. I just think it was the most surprising to me and did some really interesting out there things that I wasn't aware were happening in 1974. Whereas I really enjoyed the jazz fusion, but it was what I was expecting from jazz fusion.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed David Bowie, but again, it was what I was expecting from David Bowie.
Habib.
I see your points, and I
Counter them.
well, like I want to agree, but I really like Chick Corea. I really love Return to Forever, and I still think it. Yeah, I vote for my own album.
Andrew with the self vote.
Yeah.
You're allowed to vote for yourself. That's not.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna do it because I just
Doesn't mean I
for
can't
me
make fun
it's
of him
just
for
like
it.
it just has so many interesting, like, I don't know, fusion is cool, and it's really like it's fun to see how it affects music later on down the track in sort of subtle ways. And that's it. It's just a banger album.
Jason, I completely agree with you. I think I was blown away by all the things that Gene Clark was doing in no other. But Habibi's right. Jazz fusion's awesome. Chick Corea is awesome, and I actually was blown away by Where Have I Loved You Before? Where Have I Known You Before? What's the name of the album?
Where Have I Known You
Whatever
Before,
it is, I loved it. Yeah. I thought, like, I was expecting it to be an unfocused, drivelly mess because it's so early in the history of jazz fusion. But no, it's great. It's so laser focused on tight musicianship, beautiful piano segues between these elaborate, gooey songs that just like are so powerful and groovy, and Gene Clark and David Bowie. These are two, like, these albums are very highly rated in my head now. But it's Chick, man. There's nothing I can do.
Cool. So we are at a null and void point unless we get a response from Sam at some future point in time.
Sam can type in the comments and let us know
Yeah.
why he picked Gene Clark, and B, who he votes for. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Sam, Jason, have you got some news for us about who he is and how and what we should do about him?
So this would normally be where we'd ask, "Hey Sam, what's going on with you and your music?" But I will do my best to fill that space. Sam is the drummer of Pseudo Hive, who we have spoken about a couple of times now on the channel. I believe they did have a gig coming up that has been, I think, cancelled, but maybe postponed due to the lockdowns. If it has been postponed, I don't think there's a new date for it yet. But regardless, you should go and listen to their latest release, Volume 3, which is what we spoke about a few weeks ago. Give them a follow, buy their merch. They've got some really cool splatter vinyls.
Yeah, vinyls are very cool.
I absolutely love their, the designs that they get for their vinyls. I think it's Salty Dog Records. I'll give them a shout out. Sorry if I got that wrong, but yeah, go to the links below and support Pseudo Hive.
Please do. They're amazing people, amazing band, and fucking sick music.
Click above to find out what else we've listened to this month.
Click below to support the artist we just listened to.
And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.